She's coming. Yep. She's coming. Yep. Right. So, in addition to doing lots of first-person shooting in VR, if you track far enough back through my video catalog, you see sim racing. And that's what I used to do in the way back when. Hell of a lot of sim racing. Funny enough, with this wheel, which I've had for 15 years now, this is the G25. I pre-ordered it. I've had it ever since. It gets used quite regularly. I mean, I used to develop mods and things, so I've done thousands and thousands of laps of pretty much every track. And yeah, it's now mounted in this FGT rig. Now, what we're talking about today is the stiffening kit that comes with this rig. So, when I was buying it, I was dubious about the stiffness of the pedal plate because it attaches right at the bottom here. And then it basically just flaps in the breeze above that. But now we've got these pedal stiffeners in here, and it is rock solid. Like, it is rock solid. It does not move. I've got a true brake in here with the 100% spring in it, so that's about... I measured it using a bathroom scale, just pressing against it, and it's about 50 kilos of force to get to 100%. So it's not a jokey amount of pressure on this thing. If you see here, like, it's still not hitting 100%. So that's quite a stiff brake pedal. It does not move very far. This little bit here is just the uptake, and then it starts. That's just the slack that stops your foot resting on it from actually activating the brake. And then once you get to here, the brake is on, and then I would break my finger if I tried to push any harder. But these stiffeners on the pedals are amazing. This is absolutely rock solid. I could stand on the end of this, but I'm about 100 and something kilos, and yeah, no problemo. In fact, I reckon we could do that. I just don't want to fall and die. So we're just gonna... Oh, there we go. My weight's going through my heels here. I'll see if I can pivot onto my heels. There you go. 100 kilos, does not move at all. You could put any pedals on this thing and they won't budge. But the other thing that this comes with, which I don't have installed, is the stiffener kits for the wheel. And the way these go on here is something like this. You run it through the front bolt, and then you want to run it down here. And basically, the further back that you take this, the stiffer that it's going to be. But, I mean, frankly, look, I only run a G25 on here at the moment. I am waiting on a Sim Magic Alpha, so it's going to get a lot stronger than this thing. But it is very, very stiff. Like, you're going to get a little bit of vertical movement on here, but it's very, very, very stiff. Like, the whole thing is actually rocking at the moment. Let's just sit my fat ass in here. Here we go. So I'm just going to give this a bit of a wiggle. And we've got like a little bit of vertical movement. That's pulling down quite hard, and that's pushing up quite hard. So there's a little bit of vertical movement. It's all in the wheelbase too. Just pull down the wheelbase. We get a little bit of vertical movement. Lateral movement is pretty well controlled, and of course there's not much twist to be spoken of in there. Yeah, it's pretty good. Like, I think it's stiff enough to not warrant using the wheel stiffeners, because they do intrude on your leg room, your access through the side, but we will throw them on and see how we go. Okay, so first things first, we're going to back this one all the way out. I'm going to take it off the back one here. Draw him the whole way out, like that. Going to put the top one in here. He can go back in. This is how we do this. And we're going to pop the bottom one in, like that. Square washer on the inside. And then a nut. Like that. And we're going to pull it all the way back. That looks good. This will make it as stiff as we can. And then we'll just whack this guy down. I'll whack the top one tight now as well. Take any give out of that one. There we go. Now, as you can see, we now have more intrusion into the leg area. So getting in requires a little bit more folding than normal. But we've got one side secured rock hard. The other side is a little bit obscured by my shifter here, which I've got on the same rail where this would install. If I slid this further back, I could make a bit of clearance. But these are the compromises you're making with the stiffening kit. So you can see at the front there, we are losing a bit of adjustability on that pedal platform to get that maximum stiffness. I've got the stiffeners pushed all the way forwards and my pedal plate pushed all the way back. So that gives me maximum stiffness there. And that sort of removes any ability to install a monitor stand on there. And then on the middle rail, the middle slotted rail here, we've got the wheel pushed all the way forwards. And then that gives me the maximum stiffness by pulling this all the way back. So this sort of limits what you can install, but we've got one stiffener installed now and it is pretty damn stiff now. I can feel it's just all in my wheel. This side does feel stiffer than this side a little bit in that vertical motion. Lateral motion isn't terribly affected because of the way that these braces work, but there isn't too much lateral motion worth speaking of anyway. But that vertical movement is now very well controlled. Like most of the flex you're seeing here is just my wheel axle in this G25. When we get the Sim Magic on, it'll be a bit stiffer again. But yeah, that's vertically locked down with these things in there. So there we go. That's the wheel stiffener kit. I'll give the brake a good push, so that's all the way back out to 50 kilos there with the heel up. I usually wear shoes to drive this because it is pretty stiff and it makes it easier for heel toe and things like that than pressing with one bone in your foot on the brake and trying to get maximum brake pressure. But as you can see, I'm maxing it out and there's just no flex in that brake paddle. So very, very good stiffening kit, this one. It just sort of costs you a little bit of flexibility in your positioning. But I've got this in the hybrid position, so we've got the GT style seat and the Formula style pedals, which I think it's a nice approximation of how a GT car actually feels. If you look, the key to turning a road car into a race car is you rip the seat out, you put a racing seat in on without any adjustable rails or that huge bolstering and everything, and you get about like 6 inches of headroom because you just drop the seat onto the floor. And when the seat's on the floor, it's basically on the same level as the pedals. And this is what it feels like to drive something like a Lotus Elise or my MR2 with the hard seat and it just dropped on the deck. So it's a nice compromise. It like gives your feet nice and high and you can really press into the back of the chair on that brake pedal. It's really, really good for GT style cars. And then of course it basically comes across to Formula cars because your feet are nice and high. I don't know if I bother with the Formula seating position because then it'd just be harder to get in and out. It'd just be like rolling onto the floor and then having to get up. So I'm not down for that. This is how I race. And this is the FGT with the stiffener in it. And it's pretty damn stiff. And that's the compromise we're making.